What's up guys, my name is PB and let me not waste your time. Today we're going to be making the flashlight video that I teased earlier. It's quite the simple effect, but there will be some resources that you will need before we start the actual tutorial. You need to get this flashlight PNG. I've included a link for it in the description where you can download it from Pinterest. Once you have it, then you can jump straight into Davinci and get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to open up Fusion. I've already masked out the flashlight, the polygon here. I'm just going to plug that in so that we can see it on our main comp. Over here we have a background with the alpha turned all the way down. That'll just give us this checkerboard pattern here. Okay, that's nice. So first thing we want to do is we want to prepare the flashlight image for the comp. Right now it's in the wrong aspect ratio. It's 1200 by 1200. We don't want that. We want 1280 by 1080, 1920 sorry, by 1080, because that's our comp size. Best practice of Davinci Resolve, you bring in a image that is not the right aspect ratio, not the right size, use a crop node, and then you click keep centered. It will automatically crop the image to the comp size, and that will give you a whole lot less headache. Highly recommend this. Okay, next thing we want to do is make our actual light. This we can leave for now, but we'll get back to that eventually. Just add in a background first of all. Then you merge it in, and now we just preview only the background. What we want to do is change the type to gradient and then to radial. Give us this radial background here that spreads out from the epicenter here. Okay, now next thing we want to do is we want the radial background to start in the center. So we'll just set that to 0.5, and then as for the end, we'll make this something like 0.55, no, 0.54. Yes, this is fine. Okay, nice. Now we're going to invert the background by switching these around. Okay, and once we have done that, we'll take the black and remove the alpha of the black right here. This gives us this little star. Very, very cool. Now that we've done that, I'm just going to move this down to 0. I want this to be at the bottom, and then we'll set this to 0 as well, so that it's also at the bottom. Okay, nice. Next thing we're going to add is a light rays node, not ray, light rays, and we're going to preview that alpha limits effect, and we will change the select output to light rays alone. Okay, lower our threshold all the way down basically, and then increase the length. Right now you won't see anything because our control is up here. When our star is down here, you can see that you can grab the handle, the input, and move it around like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this at 0.5 so it stays in the center, and then move this back down, maybe like minus 0.5 like this. I think that's fine. Increase the brightness of it all the way up, the gamma all the way up, so that it's very intense effect. And then saturation, we don't need to touch that. Maybe reduce the softness so that it looks very sharp. You can increase the softness so that it blends a bit more with your environment. But yeah, that's how you make a light cone. If you want to keep the light cone just like this, you're fine to do so. This effect is plenty cool, but I'll teach you how to attach a flashlight to it and make it animate around like I showed in my preview video. But if you want to just make the light, this is all you need. Very, very simple. Okay, so I'm just going to return that as is, reduce the height a bit so it's more narrow, and then I'll show you how to merge it so that you get rid of this black background. You leave the merge settings as is, and then you turn the alpha gain all the way down. Now all you have is this light cone. What if you want to change the color? Just go back to the light rays and then change the color tint like this. You can change the color to whatever you want. Very, very simple. Okay, now let's attach this light that we've made to our flashlight. So we want both of them to attach at the center. We want it to attach at the center, right? So first we need to create an anchor. First we'll add a new transform, and we'll call that anchor for our flashlight. So I want the light to come from somewhere around here. So I'll raise the pivot point on our anchor to somewhere around here. Let me make that 0.8 like that. And we want the anchor point to be at the center so that we normalize our transforms for both. We'll do the same thing. We'll normalize the transform for the light rays as well. So first, to get it to the center, we'll reduce the height of the center by the amount we increased the height of the pivot to normalize everything. So we added 0.3 to 0.5 that was previously here to get 0.8. Simple maths. We're just going to subtract 0.3 and boom, normalized. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Once we're done with that, we'll do the same thing here. We want our light cone not to start here, but start at the center. So we're just going to press XF and we're just going to call this light anchor like that. And then we're going to raise it. It's at the bottom now. I put it at the bottom on purpose so that the math here is really simple. To get it to the middle, we're just going to raise it up like this. Oh, sorry, I'm not previewing. We're just going to raise it up like this until it gets to the middle. And to do that, we'll add the distance from the center to the bottom here, which is half, obviously. And we're going to add half to half, which gives us 1. And just like that, normalized. Now that they're both normalized, we can control. You can see that it's coming from where I wanted it to. We can, now that they're both normalized, we can control them with the same transform. We're going to call this transform root. This will be the root transform. Now, to copy the transform over here so that it affects both of them at the same time, we Control C, we press Control C while this transform is selected, the root transform. Then we click this light anchor here and press Control Shift V to make an instance root. Now, if we move the transform for our flashlight, it moves the transform for our light. We can shrink them as well. So now the light is smaller and the flashlight is smaller. Absolutely fantastic as well. You can see that it gets cut off here. We don't want that. So we're going to add another transform, okay, after our light anchor. And we're going to call this shape. It's going to be our shape transform. If I adjust the size on the shape transform, it adjusts the size of the light. Incredible. One thing we can adjust as well to stretch out our light is the aspect. We can compress our light by reducing it or stretch our light by increasing it. I'm going to leave that like that. I think I'll also color the flashlight. Since it's gray, that's another thing I wanted to explain. I forgot. You can take a CC node like this. Since it's gray, black and white-ish, you can just drag the color and to change the color of the flashlight and to look good every single time because of color values and other fantastic Davinci magic, blah blah blah. I'm so tired. Now that we have that, we can just animate our root node like this and we're done with the effect. But I'm going to take this a step further. After our instance transform, we're going to add ourselves a dissolve node and we're going to add a background, BG background, and plug it into the green here, okay? And now you will see that it is invisible, that our light is invisible because our background here is interfering through this dissolve. If we preview this alone, we just get the black background. But if we reduce this, our light comes back in action. We don't want this to be a black background. We just want this to be alpha, so it's transparent. So now when it's set to 1, it is our light doesn't appear. But when it's set to 0, our light appears. That actually doesn't make sense. What I'm going to do is I'm going to invert this so it's the other way around. So just press Ctrl T to invert it. So now when it's on 0, the light won't show, but when it's on 1, the light will show. This is like brightness control for our light. it's like a rig. So I'm just going to rename this brightness. No, that's kind of confusing because there's brightness and contrast. I'll name this intensity. That's a cool name. So if we go back, we have parameters that we can control: the intensity of the flashlight, the angle, position, size, everything, center. We can animate this as it is. It's a rig basically as it is, but I'm going to teach you how to centralize that rig into one control. What we want to do is add a background. I have said that how many times this video, oh my god. We add our background in like this. It's not very useful on its own, but we're about to make it very, very useful. We'll rename this rather rig control. We'll right click on this, and then we'll now go edit controls, right? And then we'll add our first parameter that we want to be able to control. We'll name it intensity, okay, like our last parameter. We'll leave this as a number type. We'll keep it on the user page because we want our own dedicated page for our controls. I'll leave a video in the description about edit controls, like all this crap here. Very, very robust video so that you guys can learn as well. I'll just be overviewing stuff for this tutorial. I want this to be a slider control, and for the range, our intensity has the smallest value of 0, so I'll make the minimum 0 and I'll make the maximum 1 because that's the highest value of our intensity on the dissolve node. Okay, and then I'll just click that, and now we have our own tab, our user tab with intensity right here. We hover over this, and in the bottom left corner you can see the path rig control capital C. This has to be written exactly. Note this down exactly what it says, dot intensity capital I. Okay, so if we go back to our intensity, we can right click on this expression, and then we can go rig control dot intensity. I'll also leave a video on expressions in case you guys want to learn that. So now we go back to our rig control. We can control our intensity from here, remote control basically. We add in more values here. It basically becomes our own rig with centralized values that we can animate, that we can do whatever we want with. So we're not jumping from node to node to control our light. We have full control over here. Okay, so we can add more control parameters here. I think I'm going to add in controls for the size, okay, the angle, and the center as well, so that I can control the entire flashlight animation from here. So I'm just going to go to edit controls, and then I'm going to make a new control, position. This is going to replace center that we were using before. I'm going to click point. It's going to be a point control, that's what it is, and I'm going to choose offset control, so it looks like this, and I'm done. Now we have position right here. Really, really cool. Okay, and we can go back to our root control here, right click on center, go to expression, and then okay, now we've added our position control, and we can control our position from the rig control. Let's add some more controls. Now we have our effect centralized. We can control the effect from here. So if we want to animate stuff, I'll just make a quick animation. Now let's add something to shine our light on. Maybe a little prop that will absorb our light rays. I'm going to be using, go figure, a background node. I'm going to drag in from the top here, this little circle, an ellipse mask. You can also add it by pressing shift space, typing in ellipse, but I usually drag it from the top, plug that in, and then merge it in like that. So once I've added the background node like that, I'm going to create a duplicate of this entire setup. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, duplicate made. Now we merge that in and shift it a bit, And for this background, okay, this duplicate, I'm going to actually change this, not solid, I'm going to change this to a gradient like that. And I'm going to set the color. Color can be whatever you want. I'll just use this purple, I guess. And what's essential here is to make sure that it is merged in normally, because we're going to mask this out. If you wanted to mask something out normally, you'd use a rectangle or whatever, plug it into that blue node. But this time, we're going to mask it out with the light. This light. Sorry. Now you might be wondering, how are we going to do that? There's this weird black background that we don't want from our light rays earlier. How are we going to... Nah, don't worry about it. It's super duper simple, I promise. To isolate just the cone, we're going to move this up. We'll use a Luma Key node. We'll take the input from here and plug this into the yellow input of our Luma Key. Now, if we preview this, the black background is gone and it's just the bright parts. That's what the Luma Key does. It takes the brightest parts of the image and keeps them, and it filters out the darker parts. I'll add a video for Luma Key as well. And if I play the animation, you can see that it follows as well. Now we can take this light cone and put it into the blue input of our merge, and boom, previous bright background, our previous bright circle is being masked out. So now when we preview it at the end, it looks like our torch is shining on the circle. To pull this effect off, you need to have two duplicates. That's a must. One dark duplicate and one light duplicate. That's how you get the effect that you saw in that opening video. You can come back here, maybe go to your Luma Key and tweak the settings. If you don't like how it's looking, you can maybe soften it by spreading it out like this. I think that looks a bit better actually. I don't like this intense light look. I think I'll leave it like that. It's not really showing anything, you know. Maybe reduce the blur a bit so it's sharper. Then yeah, that looks good to me. And you're done. You can use this with anything that has alpha. You just have to make sure that it has a bright and a dark counterpart. So if I wanted to do this with like an image, let me just get an image real quick. Go to YT, no, desktop. Let me see. I've abused the living hell out of this picture, but I think I'll use it one more time. Like that. Drag it in. Take this, and it looks good now with the flashlight like this, but we can make this better. I'm going to create another duplicate as per usual, and you know what's up, you drag the Luma Key in here to mask it, and on this one, to make it the dark evil counterpart, where you just add a brightness contrast, take the gain and drag that all the way down, maybe something like this. And yeah, now you have it affecting an image. Super duper cool. Really cool like that. And there's a million ways that you can make this effect cooler. I'm not going to go over them in this video. Obviously, it's up to your imagination. Some things that you can try out to make this effect cooler include drop shadow for your flashlight. You can add drop shadow to your flashlight to add some compositing to it. I did that in the original video. You can also add glow, basic S glow. Okay, turn up the threshold, reduce the gain just a bit, increase the glow size, turn down the blend to like 0.92, and now you have a glowing flashlight. So that's it for today's tutorial. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comment section down below. You can also reach me on Discord. Speaking of Discord, I have a server where you can watch me stream, ask questions, and interact with my community.